play the music this time. Hi there, welcome back to the second part of Custard TV Live. A little technical issues there, a few gremlins in the system. Matt, have you deleted the gremlins?
I have, yeah. Gremlins have all gone. Yeah.
Excellent. Can you remember what on earth we were talking about before our gremlins came along?
I believe
I think we were talking about Strictly. That's right.
Yeah.
So we'll carry on talking about that. So you were saying your top three. So do you want to go for those again?
Yeah, it was Lewis Smith, the gymnast, Denise Van Outen, and Danny Harmer, the Tracy Beaker star. I think Kimberly Walsh won't make it to the final. That's my bold prediction, based on the fact that Holly Valance didn't last year, and she's the sort of the eye candy, if you will, this year.
Right.
Sort of...
I'd certainly agree that that's the case. So,
I just think a lot of ladies watch the show, and ladies might not necessarily vote for the sexy.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a good point. Is that yes, it's mostly female viewers and female voters, which is something we'll come on to talk about when we see the X Factor as well.
Yeah.
I think that I'm in the show. I think Lisa Riley could go far in the show as well. I think she's well liked.
Yeah.
So and
maybe
she's clearly having fun with it.
The large ladies everywhere.
Indeed.
Sort of
my mum will be happy as long as Fern Britton doesn't win.
Sorry, Fern Britton. Is that because of your mum? Yeah.
My mum hates Fern Britton, so...
I don't think she will. I think you're fine.
We think we're okay. Right, we're rebroadcasting again. Sorry for the problems. Thank you very much for sticking with us if you're listening live. If you're on the podcast, sorry, you've just got to listen to two podcasts. It's bonus. It's double the fun. There you are. Double the fun. Right, on to a drama show that we've been watching, DCI Banks. It's coming into its last two-parter. Its most recent two-parter aired the last part last Wednesday. This isn't something you've been watching this time around, is it, Matt? Did you watch any of the previous series?
Sorry?
Did you watch any of the previous series?
I watched I think I watched the first one of both series, but it's not... It's just a bit too sort of dark for me, a bit too depressing. There didn't seem to be anything to sort of grasp to. I do like Stephen Tompkinson, but I just found it wasn't for me. I think
they've had to make some changes this year. They've had to make some changes. Yeah, I do enjoy it. They had to bring Caroline Katz into the show. Previously, she was in what was she in? She was in The Vice. And she introducing her has made the show a little disjointed. The first double episode, by introducing her, kind of made everything kind of reset. And now this second episode now feels more like the first episode. If you know what I mean, is that they sort of had to introduce her as a character. So I think this second one was a lot better. I'm hoping, therefore, that this last doubleheader, which we need to warn you is over 2 consecutive nights, this Wednesday and Thursday, not on 2 consecutive Wednesdays due to I'm a Celebrity. Hopefully that will be back to its best. I mean, are you a fan of Wallander? Because I link DCI Banks to Wallander. I think they've gone for that kind of like, they just can't get more depressive.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think maybe the production of Wallander makes it what it is. I think it's got higher production values. I haven't actually watched is it Swedish, isn't it? Not Danish.
Yeah, no, I've watched the English versions. I haven't watched
the English version, the Branagh one, and I think I enjoy the production values on that. And I think because it's got Kenneth Branagh in it, and you know, he's like one of our finest acting talents. So, but I do like Stephen Tompkinson. But I watched a couple, and it just didn't do anything for me. So.
Excellent. Well, I think that's one that I'll be watching. So we'll talk about the two-parter next week a little bit. But the ratings have been pretty good. But of course, as we talked about earlier, ITV sort of parachuted this in early to avoid putting Mr. Selfridge up against the Paradise. Yeah. So it didn't get a lot of press. So maybe that did hurt it. And also next week is the last Monroe as well. So.
Yeah, I think actually DCI Banks has done quite well in the ratings. Actually, it's I think it beat Who Do You Think You Are, which
oh right, crikey, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, but Monroe, as you say, is getting thrashed by New Trick. So
it's a shame. The massive ratings winner that is New Tricks that I can't understand because I don't really like it that much.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Onto a comedy. Onto Red Dwarf. This series is showing on Dave. Yes, there is a television network called Dave. You've not heard me wrong. And this is the chance where Luke can bring in. If Luke was here, he would say, "I love the channel Dave Jarvu."
Dave
He loves that joke. He loves that joke. Yeah, he loves it, bless him. This series has been a success for me. It's gone back to sort of old school Red Dwarf, not the Red Dwarf of most recent years, and I've quite enjoyed it. And hopefully, it'll get commissioned for more. The one thing I would say is that the actors are looking very old now. I don't know. Perhaps I mean, with all the prosthetics they use for Crichton, perhaps they could use a view to make sure that Craig Charles doesn't look in his early 60s. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping that it will get another series. And you know, they've talked about a Red Dwarf film, and I think there's a fan base there. There's a huge fan base in America for the British audience, for the British version. So I'm just kind of hoping that at some point.
I watched the first. Yeah, I did watch the first. Is definitely sort of basics, isn't it? Because Back to Earth I found was just very much self-referential and things. It's a bit too clever, and the laughter track being back as well, I think, helps it a great deal. Definitely,
and I think the fact that they've gone back to some of the original ideas, you know, it's Rimmer versus Lister is the main point of the whole show. So I think they've gone back to some of that. Let's go back to something reviewable. Let's go back to some more reality stuff. Let's talk about, I haven't seen this, but let's talk about Young Apprentice that returned last week. You previewed that on the podcast last week. Let's talk about that. How did that first episode go?
It was all right, actually. The teams he gave them a ton of clothes to sort through, and they had to pick out the most marketable items and then go to Westfield Shopping Centre and to a car boot and sell them on. And because it's the young version, obviously, Lord Sugar gets some of his contemporary references in. There was a reference to Angry Birds, made an appearance early on, and Lady Gaga later on, when one of the young chaps, Patrick, who is a young designer, made a wetsuit kimono out of some of the discarded clothes, and he likened it to something Lady Gaga would wear. So,
oh dear. He is quite on Twitter. He's quite he's quite thinks he's quite trendy on Twitter, doesn't he, Lord Sugar?
He thinks he's trendy.
Yeah, he gets involved in lots of things and talks. I mean, he once tweeted, "Who the hell is Talisa?" Quite controversially, didn't he? So he loves to get his little digs in.
Yeah, he likes to dab at Piers Morgan, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, well that's always fun. Anything anti Piers Morgan, I'm a big fan of. Is there a winner in the first episode? Do you think you can pick a winner this early, or is it too early to tell?
I'd say it's too early to tell. I mean, to be fair, I haven't learnt everyone's names yet, because, as you know,
always the problem in the first week.
Yeah, there's. I mean, only the bigger characters, and those bigger characters tend to fade. Well, not get fired straight away. Some stay to the end, but occasionally the big characters at the start are the ones that wind him up enough so he fires them. But there were a couple of young lads who worked at the boot sale. I didn't catch their names, but they seemed to be quite on the ball. And the project manager, I think her name was Ashley, of the girls, because the girls team won the first one.
Right.
And their project manager, she was a trainee accountant, so she kept a tight rein on the budget, and that basically won them the task. So. Right. And there was quite a funny moment in a laundrette where the girls almost put detergent in the dryer until the assistant said, "No, don't do that because that's a dryer." Obviously saying that kids don't know everything. They don't know basic.
No, that's right. I wish that Nick on their team, so that you would have seen Nick's lemon face at that point. You know, you would have... Or were they being managed by Karen?
He did, you did get the lemon face, I think. And brilliant. He definitely was following the girls' team. But I can't remember exactly that moment he was doing the lemon face. There were some moments later on in Westfield Shopping Centre where he he broke out some of the sales techniques that the girls employed. So.
I think one of the things that they miss, and I know that Lord Sugar really likes the Junior Apprentice, you know, as a project, you know, and this whole idea of, you know, trying to produce young entrepreneurs. But I think really he's missed a trick in that he could be slightly less involved, and actually you could have different people other than Nick and Karen. I just think you're missing that opportunity, and I think this is where last year I just got apprentice fatigue. Where there was nothing new coming out of the last series, and apart from the very weak joke about Ricky Martin, I didn't find much joy in the last series at all.
No, I liked Adam. He was my favourite. The sort of
Yeah,
northern market stall holder.
yeah,
He was a bit thick, but he was a sort of a lovable oaf would be a good
yeah.
term, I think. Now I
There
still
are a
like the
few people.
Apprentice. I mean, I still I have to write about it now, but I do like the young version. I think they're almost less annoying than the older counterparts because they're not constantly trying to show off to each other. I think
Yeah,
because they're younger, they're
there's
more enthusiastic.
there's
Yeah.
still a little bit of the annoyance. I did read one particular young person was rather berated for his dress sense and his style. It might be the Lady
That would be
Gaga comment that I saw on Twitter.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
the Patrick with his nice sort of frilly suit that he wore. He designed it
oh
himself
dear.
though, so fair
Oh really? Oh dear.
enough.
But you see, Lord Sugar loves those ones that bring themselves up by the bootstraps and did it all themselves. I mean, look at, Susan Ma a couple of series ago. We all thought she was really annoying, but Lord Sugar loved it because she'd made her own, from a sales, from a pitch on a Greenwich market, she'd made a business worth over 500,000 or something. He loves all of that, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Have you ever read his autobiography?
I haven't no.
I'll lend it to you. It's a wonderful
No.
read because you do get an insight into where the apprentice has come from. It really is just the story of his life.
Yeah,
He has done all of this from the beginning.
and I
So
suppose
that's
that's why
interesting.
he likes doing this because it's where he started, and he
Yeah,
can see himself in some of the kids maybe.
definitely. I definitely think that's part of it. Back to some of the drama that's been on recently. I watched 3 new US dramas. I'm going to talk a little bit about those. Matt hasn't seen them, so I'll tell him how good they are.
Okay.
First up was Chicago Fire by Dick Wolf. Now, Dick Wolf is not particularly well known in this country, but in America, he's the uber producer of the Law and Order series. So you've had Law and Order Special Victims Unit, Law and Order Crime and Punishment, or whatever it was. And in the UK, obviously, Law and Order was remade and uses a lot of the American scripts. It's very, the Law and Order form is a formula show. You get the incident, then you get the police, then you get the legal team, then you get the resolution. Chicago Fire is nothing like that. It's based, as you would probably guess, on a Chicago fire station, but it does also feature search and rescue teams, a paramedic team. It stars a couple of people who have been out of work due to their series finishing. It features Jesse Spencer, who was in House, uh, who had an Australian accent, now has a very dodgy American accent, which I do have to point out.
He was in
And
Neighbours
Monica,
back in the day.
he was in Neighbours as well, many many moons
Yeah.
ago. And it also features Monica Raymond, who was in Lie to Me, which finished a couple of years ago as well. I quite liked it. Obviously, there's been a lot of these type of programs. I think we mentioned there was Rescue Me, Third
Yeah.
Watch. Uh, there was an Australian one, and of course London's Burning. No, that was 20 years ago. What am I saying? Um, but I thought this was really good, and actually, it featured a lot of scope on its plot lines. There was a lot of rivalry in the fire station. There was relationships. There was a lot there. I mean, it doesn't look like a Law and Order remake in a fire station,
No, well, that's good.
which is good. Um, it wasn't part of the Sky event that I went to. It's the 5th series in Sky's American imports this year, and actually I think it's one of the better ones. I think I really like this, and I think I'm going to carry on watching it.
Okay.
That's a good one. Next was Last Resort, which Sky bought very late and has done quite well in ratings in America. It's written and created by Sean Ryan, who has got good pedigree as the creator and writer of The Shield and The Unit, and more recently The Chicago Code and Terriers, which never made it to the UK. It's based on a nuclear submarine going a bit rogue, but not really. They get an order to fire upon Pakistan through back channels, and then they ask for it to be confirmed via the normal channels, and then they get fired on themselves, and they find refuge in a Caribbean NATO headquarters. I'm not explaining it very well. I'm not selling it very well, am I? It's better than it sounds. The problem was the pilot was very big and very adventurous and almost like a film. And I'm not sure. I'll be interested to watch episode 2 to see how do they slow it down. I think this is sometimes the problem with American shows,
Yeah.
because the pilots have to be so good to be made. Like Flash Forward in the event, they have to grab your attention. Where do you go next?
Yeah.
You haven't
Definitely
caught
with Flash
Last Resort,
Forward.
have you?
Yeah,
I
Sorry?
got burned by Flash. I got burned by Flash Forward. I loved that show, and then it got rubbish.
Yeah. Because the first
And then it
episode
got
of
good
Flash
again.
Forward- Sorry?
Yeah, the first episode
Yeah.
was brilliant, wasn't it? The first
Yeah,
episode of the event
yeah.
was pretty good. It was all effects, the
Yeah, I
president's
thought-
plane going missing. So that's unfortunate. And the last of which of new American shows. This isn't quite you. This is the fifth and final series of Fringe returned. We're now in the future. I think it's an alternative